steaks tonight. So we're cleaning up the disco, making sure it's nice and clean, so we get that awesome flavor from the meat. Remember to clean your disco. I'm just cleaning it with some coarse sea salt or kosher salt, and soaks up all the grease, the remnants, and then we have a good cleaning surface to cook on. All right, so we're gonna season our ribeye steaks here, and I like to let the meat speak for itself, so to speak, and let the flavor of the meat come through. So we lightly season. We do some salt, and then we throw in some pepper, just to enhance the meat's natural flavor. We don't want to taste the spices too much. We just want them to enhance. I am using a Cajun spice that I like really well, and apparently the bees like really well too. And so this will cook in the good hot heat of the disco, and it will enhance the first-hand flavor of the meat. And now we're ready. Welcome back, everyone. Tonight we're cooking ribeye steaks and asparagus. Got a nice clean hot disco. Just added my olive oil. Now we're gonna cook some steaks. Here we go. Now we added the ribeye steaks, season side down. I like to cook that down in there first. Now what I'll do is I'll season this non-seasoned side while it's cooking here. So we're using my medium-sized disco. It's about 23 inches wide. Got about a 2.5-inch dip. So with our base that we're going to baste our steaks in, I want to have that dip so the basting sauce stays at the bottom. So I'm going to season the ribeye steaks now. Salt, pepper, and a little bit of Cajun seasoning, just a little bit, because we want the meat to produce its own flavor, and we want the meat flavor to come out. So let me season that. Pepper, a little bit of Cajun seasoning. So let me start moving them around a little bit. So cooking on the disco, we have the center flame. And so I'm gonna rotate the steaks, that way they cook evenly. We're gonna cook them on both sides. We're not gonna fully cook them at all. Of course, we like our steak medium rare to medium. So I'm gonna cook them, and then we're gonna baste them. So we got to take the steaks away from the heat a little bit so we can make our baste. Now I push around the steaks here. I just let them soak in this oil a little bit. Let it soak it up. You can see there. And we just like to move them around. Something over the years we practice. So let's flip it over and see how they're looking on one side. And look at that. That's what we're looking for. A nice sear that comes from a hot disco. So we're gonna flip them over now. Look at that. Beautiful crust on that. So we're gonna cook it on the second side for a couple of minutes. Then what we're gonna do is we're gonna turn down the heat really low, and then we're gonna make our basting sauce for our steaks. So what we're going to do now is we're going to turn down the heat. We're going to turn it down. And we're going to move the steaks to the edge of the disco. It's going to keep them warm, but it's going to stop them cooking. because now we need to make our basting sauce. As you can see, they're doing very well. So they're going to be just fine right there. So the base of the sauce is butter. Can't go wrong with butter. It'll add a great, rich flavor to the steak. Now we're going to see that that's melting really well. Some clove garlic. I like to crush it. That way the butter gets in there and the garlic infuses that butter. So we're just going to let this butter melt down. You can smell the butter and the garlic mixing together already. And what we're going to do is we're going to add the asparagus. That's just about right. And what we're going to do is we're going to coat the asparagus with the butter and garlic mixture there. We're going to let that cook. Let them soften up. You can see how the asparagus is pretty tight right there. When it's ready to take off, you'll see a bow in the asparagus. And this is just smelling really, really good. Now you can see the garlic here. Look at that golden garlic there. Nice roasted garlic. So we know the heat's right. The asparagus is cooking. And it's smelling oh so good. Okay. That asparagus is ready. It's softening up. It's got that little limp to it. And so we're going to take it off the heat here in a little bit. Just right, people, just right. And I know a lot of you steak makers are wondering, where's the rosemary in this base? I like to hold off on the rosemary for a little bit because rosemary is very pungent. It's got a good deep smell and it adds a lot of flavor. So I add that in a little bit later. Thank you. So here we go. Smells good. And now I'm going to add a little bit of flavor to the asparagus, and then we're going to saute our steaks. The asparagus is ready. I just want to get that rosemary in there. I'm going to take off the asparagus. The asparagus is cooked, and then we're going to saute the steaks. Thank you. And we're going to leave the rosemary in there for that nice flavor for the steaks. And we just put enough flavor of that rosemary into the asparagus. We don't want to overpower the asparagus. Oh, so good, people, so good. You can see here, I'm leaving the garlic in and that butter and the rosemary. We're going to move the steaks closer and we're going to baste them. We can crush a little bit of garlic to get that flavor everywhere. So we covered it in the base pretty good. So that flavor is all over the steak. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn that heat a little bit higher, get that crust going again, stop the heat, pull them off, let them rest, and then it's dinner time. steaks are done. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut the heat, pull the steaks off, and let them rest before we eat. I don't mind stacking my steaks there, the juices stay together. And then I pull the garlic and the rosemary, place it on the side, and people can grab as much garlic or that they like. And that's the disco dish.
Juicy. Yum. Thank you.
I think I need to clean up this place. So.